Township Planning Commission to order January 14, excuse me, month into the schedule. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Kevin.
Here.
Nick.
Here.
Bonnie. Here. Tracy.
Here.
Dennis.
Here.
Tom.
Here.
Leo.
Here.
Ida.
Here.
Caitlin.
Here.
And absent is Corey.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming, braving the weather. Bear with me a second, let's make some notes. Okay. Meeting minutes, everyone's had a chance to review them. They're quite extensive due to the public hearing last month. Any concerns, corrections, updates, additional comments?
Great job.
Things to amend? No?
Move to accept the minutes of December 10th, 2025 as presented.
Support.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes and support by Tracy? Any discussion? Anything to amend? Ed? No? I'll take, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nay? No? Motion carries. Thank you, Bonnie and Tracy. Correspondence. We have two items of correspondence that will need to be entered into the record. One is a letter by Gerald Kane in regards to the opposition to the rezoning request for Blake's. It's quite extensive. I'd really like to see this entered into the public record, of course, but I'd also like to see a copy made of this and given to all of the members of the Planning Commission for review. This person has done a fair amount of research that may or may not need to be verified, or at least reviewed by everyone, in regards to the request from Blake's. It's quite extensive, so I'm not going to read it. Is Gerald Kane here tonight? No? Okay. We also have another one from Sean Park, which I'm not, is Sean Park here as well? You are? Hi. Thank you for the letter. This as well be entered in the public record. Is there any, would you like to make a comment on this or? Okay. She brings up several points about increased traffic, turning hazards, drinking, driving, traffic in Pinecrest, noise, blight, many of the things that were brought up during the public hearing. Again, that'll be entered as well. So thank you for that. Anybody have any other correspondence that they've received or any items of interest? Okay, thank you. We're all the way down to public comments already. Anybody have anything they want to say or add? No? Late agenda items. Nothing new there. Okay. No introductions. No public hearing. New business. The open meeting resolution. This is to adopt our meeting schedule for the upcoming year, starting with tonight, of course. There's a small typo on there, Ida. I don't know if that under January. Yeah. Okay.
You can decide which years you want to do.
That's a long way in the future. Any questions, comments, concerns? No?
There's another typo on September.
Got it.
Yeah, I
Yep.
noticed that, that was many O's.
Okay.
Move to adopt the 2026 open meetings resolution with the corrections as noted.
Support.
Okay. Any other comments, additions? Okay, we'll have to take a roll call vote, please. Michelle?
Kevin,
Yes.
Nick,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. Nick?
I should have started with Bonnie.
Yep.
Yes. Nick,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Leo.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you all. Old business. Blake's rezoning. As we can all see that due to the lack of attendance, Blake's has met with several of us. We to make a note of public record, I had a meeting with Blake's at their site on, what was that, last Wednesday, right, Dennis? Yeah, last Wednesday. To walk the topography, to walk the yard, to review their plans. They have a new plan based on public feedback, based on the items that were brought to their attention. They've made, and some problems that they have with the actual property that won't make it easy for them to do what they want to do. They're revisiting the whole site plan. They're revisiting what they actually can and can't do based on the layout of the property. So they've tabled the petition for tonight, and we'll readdress it at the next meeting on, was that the 11th, right? Yeah, February 11th. In the meantime, there's also some other meetings going on in the background. Next Tuesday? Wednesday? Again, next Wednesday. The planner and their group and several of us from both the Planning Commission and the Township Board are meeting to review some of their changes that they want to make. So that's basically the extent of that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
just for clarification of the public, these meetings that are being conducted, they are making sure we're meeting the Open Meetings Act, so ensuring that there's not a quorum. We're talking about 1 or 2 members. These are mainly
They're informational. There's no decision-making. There's no, right.
And we're expecting a revised application to be submitted. It will be in the Planning Commission packet. That's why they're delaying the decision to even be talked about tonight, because we don't want them to bring it to the meeting. And so they're going to provide that. They have that deadline. They anticipate meeting that deadline. So it will be in the Planning Commission packet. It will be available to the public, that revised plan that they have. And so that will be discussed, and we're anticipating a decision. But that will be what we're going to talk about then. So the due date, so the packet will be sent out on February 4th, about a week before the Planning Commission meeting. In talking with their representative, they know our deadline is February 2nd, so they have to submit it to us to then. Correct. Correct. Yep. So that's the tentative timeline. We do expect that to be available for public record.
Kevin, I guess I need to add too that Gary and I also visited the site, pretty much the same thing about an hour after you had left.
Yeah.
The only thing I could add is that they're aware of the public comments. They were not aware that the township has 3 commercial zonings, 1, 2, and 3. They thought we had 1. That's maybe why they applied for C3. I did mention to them about the parking lot was a glare of ice. So they've been working on trying to do something with that property for the last 2 years, and this is culminating now in some new changes and updates, so we'll hear from them again a week from tonight.
So moving on to the solar ordinance draft review. Who wants to take the floor on that?
I can, if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so I know I'm jumping into this near the end of your review process. I do have a letter dated January 7th that kind of tries to go through those different changes. In addition, I have draft 5 that actually shows some of those changes. I didn't make all of the changes noted in my letter because I wanted to make sure, one, before I do the work, you're approving of that direction. As opposed to some other planners, I do take the general philosophy where this is adding to your zoning ordinance. So there are several comments associated with, well, this is covered elsewhere. Or this is, in one case, I say, this is something you want to apply to every project. This isn't just commercial solar. You want this to address, this is every use. You want this provision. So I added some general language consistent with what you had in the other just for solar and kind of took it and recommend putting it under other corrections for best practice purposes. And so as I would guess what I was going to do is I was going to go through the letter, which does go page by page essentially of those different edits, and then just say, is there any questions or concerns? And then I can make those adaptations if you agree to them or make notes if that sounds like a good flow for this meeting.
I would just like to comment that we actually never got a chance to go through the solar ordinance as a group. And one of the reasons why it is in the format that it is was to advise the planners from the committee of what those decisions were as far as setbacks and heights and those kinds of things, addressing it so that once we were all in agreement that those were some of the decisions we made, we could move on, and understanding that, but that was one of the reasons why you're finding all this stuff in here that really doesn't belong in here. It was really just more for informational purposes, I think,
okay.
for the planners, so that they understood where we were coming from as far as those parameters. So.
Gotcha. Thank you for that.
But I guess I would have, she's done a pretty extensive review, and there's a lot of information in here that Bonnie and I have covered, and I think, like I told you before, my focus was commercial and kind of let the residential stuff slip to the side, which we covered it, but needs more work. I don't know if we should ship this back to a committee and meet with her. I'd like to go through what she described and get planners' input as she goes through her letter. But there's a lot of stuff here, and I've got a couple changes or suggestions on several things. You learn a lot more as you do more research. There's newer things that are coming out on this stuff, and we got to draw a line in the sand pretty soon here. So I don't know what the pleasure of the planning commissioners are.
And there's also all that information that we got from Indiana.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that's,
Which we never had that information until after we had put
Got that
this
in
to the
December.
planner.
yeah.
So, yeah, we just keep getting more information. So, yeah, I think let's go through her concerns, and we'll see where everybody is at with it. But I think I just want to reiterate the fact that we don't want somebody to take a look at our ordinance and say, got to go to the state because we're never going to get through this, right? But at the same time, we don't want somebody to cite one of these things and live in regret. We want it, it's one of those things where you're trying to thread the needle.
Exactly. We don't want the control taken to the state if we can prevent it. But we want to protect the interests of our community
There you
as
go.
well as what we talked about. But
There you
that's
go.
our job
Yep.
too. Okay.
And if anyone has any questions, feel free to flag me. I can stop and almost explain anything that we're going over. And so I guess how I have my notes is I have the draft and then I have my letter. So if you want to follow along that way, I think that might be the most productive. And so the first page with your table of uses, One of the things I wanted to make sure was just terminology. Talking about on-site direct use is sometimes used in just consolidating to specific terms, because typically the term on-site also means direct use. So I think we could probably consolidate specifically those terms. The other component is specifically talking about the terms between ground-mounted, building-mounted, and roof-mounted. So that might have been a very purposeful choice. I know at one point in time it did say, in the previous version, it said roof-mounted, which means solar panels can only be on the roof, as opposed to it can also be on the side of the building. So they could have their whole backside of their house, they could put the panels. And so I just wanted to check that once you make it building, someone can absolutely put on the side, and that was intentional. Was that intentional?
Yes.
Okay.
So you eliminated direct use and on-site building mounted covers roof and walls.
Correct, and I wanted to make sure, I think the intent was that you have the commercial scale, then you have on-site building, on-site ground. Just to make sure that it's clear, whenever it's on-site, that's for private use, and it is heavily regulated. Whoever your energy provider is, you are not making a profit when you are able to connect to the grid. You cover your usage, and then maybe a little payoff with your battery storage on site for your specific residential dwelling, or if this was for a commercial enterprise, because commercial and industrial could also utilize this. Not that very many in our area have.
I do.
Okay, gotcha. And so, okay, sounds like that is consistent to keep it building mounted, and then using the term on-site. Are people more or less comfortable with, I guess, those recommended changes?
The only thing I saw on here, you commented about, or maybe you'll come to it, sign mounted solar?
Correct. Yep, that's going to be my next kind of clarification. So, one of the things, and this is getting real term junky related, is some of them put, instead of building mounted, put structure mounted. So a building has walls and a roof. That's a building. If it is a structure, that's a fence. That is a sign. And so some communities purposely put structure mounted so you can have a sign. They have a mounted solar panel to it that powers it to direct the light to it. So I just want to, again, be very intentional, and if we want it to be that free reigning, we can. Otherwise, they can have that panel be on the ground as opposed to hanging off of the sign. But you can see that every so often by the freeway, they have that extra panel hanging off of the sign. And so I just wanted to check, we don't want that, or we didn't think about it.
We're talking residential?
Correct.
Necessarily.
Well,
More, maybe
not commercial
municipal,
farm.
not commercial, maybe municipal
Right.
or
I mean, I would.
commercial, like your
Yeah,
marquee sign
Right.
type thing.
I mean, personally, I would be all for that, but I've made it clear that I'm very not holding back to businesses and residents. If you want to put a solar panel to power a light in your yard, don't violate the light pollution ordinance and be my guest. That's my feeling.
So we're okay with it being structure mounted. Do you want me to limit that only to commercial industrial so it's not in residential settings?
We have them structurally mounted already in the community for private
I
use.
think you should be able to.
Yeah.
Private use,
Yeah,
that's my vibe on,
Yeah.
if you want it, you can do it.
So my other question is let's say we're looking into draft 6. Do you want track changes to be shown from the original or between 5 to 6? So however you want it to be edited.
This is 5?
Yes.
we have two
So
versions
then-
of 5. One came from Rowe and one came from Wakefield.
So I guess,
Yeah,
So
I would think maybe track the changes between your version 5 and 6,
Yes,
rather than trying to go back, because that just,
so you want to see me cross out building and put structure, or just see it change to structure?
I say start with a clean slate where you are today.
I just want to make sure I'm making a document everyone understands.
Your draft 5 is different than what we gave you, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So that shows colored, underlined, crossed out, so then you could see for our purposes tonight, potential changes, but I want to check when you get the next draft, next meeting, do you want to see that? Yes, no?
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'd rather see that lined out and just be able to go through it one more time with the decisions that we made.
Okay.
Before, so that's my preference, is not just to have a clean thing and say, oh, what changed? I'd rather just see what it exactly is that changed.
Here's mine, yeah. So you would track changes, is that what you're saying? In this?
Or line through, whichever way she wants to do it, but yeah, something that tracks what we've done. What decisions were made and what she's changed.
All right, just want to make sure we're good, a good baseline for communication there. Okay. Any other questions on, I guess, that table of uses? Otherwise, the next set of comments is the next kind of section. Nope, okay. So next is our table of use requirements. There are some different use requirements that are there. Since these are also put more in detail in section 230 or 231, I think it makes sense, let's put all the requirements in one spot. So that way there's not 3 things here and then somebody goes to 230 and says, well, there wasn't any setback requirements from eaves or roofs or 2 feet on the roof, because it's not repeated there. And so I just think it one spot for all requirements if we're going to have, instead of 2 spots. Seem more or less okay?
Totally agree. We chase this ordinance all over the place, as you witnessed tonight, with farm buildings.
Okay, name changes. So now I am on page 2 of 14.
Let me ask you about intent. You highlighted intent in yellow.
Correct. So one of the things, I guess it's just planner philosophy. You don't have to put an intent statement in your zoning ordinance. From this perspective, you do an intent or purpose in your police power ordinance. So that's just a format thing, but you don't actually have to have intent in your zoning ordinance saying, well, we're regulating solar, commercial solar, because you don't do that for any other uses. So that, it doesn't do any harm being there, but you really don't need it for in the zoning ordinance. That's more of an ordinance form thing.
I like it.
I like it.
All right, we keep it. Yep, nothing was wrong with it. Just wanted to mention that. All right, next. It talks
And
about.
you guys can feel free to say you don't like it, but
Yeah.
we're mom and dad are just being very protective of what we've done right now.
I'm going to have to defer to you guys because you've been elbows deep in this thing for months.
Okay.
Going on a year.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. All right, so we'll keep the intent there. Then section 2 talks about, again, another preemptive intent statement for all collection systems. And so I did propose to remove that because you kind of already have that intent, so you don't need it twice. But again, it doesn't do any harm by keeping it. So I'm on still page 2 of 14. So that says section 1 intent and then colon, and then it says section 2 all commercial solar facilities, and then shows red lines.
Mine's 2 of 11. Do I have the wrong thing here?
Yeah,
2 of
mine says
11.
11 too.
Oh, yeah, okay. You struck the section 2 on solar collector system, right?
Yes. Do you not see a red line version that?
That's okay.
Okay.
Fine. You don't go back.
So I don't know, I don't have a section 2 on page 2.
Right, she struck it. Right?
Yeah, so I was intending that you would see all those. So you're not seeing those.
I don't think so.
That's odd.
That is odd. Did you see it on my computer?
I do see it on your computer. And that's the one you sent to everybody.
So it was ours, section 2?
Yep, so I can read it out loud. The intent of this section is to provide for the reasonable utilization and location of solar energy collectors in Almont Township with appropriate controls to limit negative impacts on adjacent properties.
It's pretty much a repeat of the other intent, Bonnie. I brought in our draft, well, it is actually draft 5, our draft 5 that she worked off.
Okay.
I think I'm fine with it.
To remove it or keep it?
Remove it.
Okay.
It's odd though that we didn't get that when I printed it. I didn't actually print it in color. Okay.
Well, I don't
It
do that
doesn't
often.
really say the same thing though, Dennis. This ordinance aims to preserve the rural and agricultural characters of Almont Township by regulating installation and operation of solar energy collection systems while maintaining the best interests of rural assets, environmental protections, and fire safety. Now, this one says, the intent of this section is to provide the reasonable utilization and location of solar energy collectors. So they're not the same sentence and statement at all. So either, I mean, they're talking about section 2, and are we keeping section 2, which is general provisions? Yeah.
Caitlin is suggesting to strike it.
Because there's a difference between ordinance form, so technically the typo there is that this isn't, this ordinance, it is an ordinance, but when I put it into the zoning ordinance, you don't put intent statements in there in ordinance form. So I think it's merging different intents there. And so section 2 isn't common in your current zoning ordinance that you have a preamble of why you're regulating that again.
All right. Are you good with removing it?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So next is under general provisions A. I highlighted 1, which is talking about drainage. And so you do have under, you do have drainage plans that are required for all commercial or for all solar facilities. I wanted to check when you're talking about those accessory drainage and things of that nature, especially since now all of your on-site, your ground, or your building mounted, those are administratively reviewed. Do you want to require drainage plans? Because now this is a more intensive expense, I guess. You do have general provisions that come into play. You're not allowed to push water on somebody else's
This is
property.
for all commercial scale solar projects.
This is for all. So
No.
230 is for all solar.
General
So
provision.
on-site and commercial.
Yep. So
2031 is only commercial, which cross-references 230.
But the paragraph says all commercial scale solar projects shall be required to submit existing and proposed and stormwater calculations. So it's specifically calling out the commercial on the stormwater calcs and leaving residential alone.
I'm not seeing that part.
Well, so it does in the second.
That's the second paragraph.
So it does say in the second sentence, but I guess where I would get confused in interpreting it is it says the number 1 is that the installation of any solar panel shall not negatively impact adjacent properties with additional or excessive stormwater runoff and or drainage. And so how, and then it goes into, yes, commercial grade, you need all the topography plans, but how else am I going to prove that otherwise? And even in the administrative review, I'm going to ask for that topography information to verify it.
From a residential homeowner?
Correct.
What I did under 230B is in my handout.
Mhm.
That requires a language out of our ordinance for a pond to give us a scale drawing of a residential home. And I just identified drainage characteristics without a topography requirement. Focusing on the residential, back to the next point. We don't have we're not requiring a drawing from a residential home to show property line setback, structures, drainage, and all that kind of, and where the wiring is going to go, underground or above. That's what I thought. That's why I thought we were a little focused so much on, I was so focused on commercial. that the residential side of it kind of slipped through the cracks. So I wrote that paragraph.
So I see the first sentence in this section to give the building official the authority if he sees where the panel is going, either on the building or next to an adjacent, whatever, that the way that they want to install it, it's gonna be sending all of their stormwater off onto my property. Now, the building inspector has the teeth in that first sentence to say, you can't do that, right? So that to me is a general overall statement that says you can't just mount it wherever you want and let the stormwater go wherever it wants to, without requiring any kind of a drawing for the residents to prove that they're not. If the building official, when he's looking at the submission, has a red flag going off, at least he's got something that says, well, wait a minute, this for sure is going to, right? The second piece of this is commercials will have to submit something that proves that their drainage water is staying on site.
And I don't think that's necessary because they already, in our site plan review requirements, we already require topography information. And so I don't think we have to list it out separately that commercial has to provide this because we already require it under site plan review requirements.
But it's not necessarily going to be a site plan for the commercial, is it?
Yeah, it's all new structures. So yes, it would
Okay.
have to, and these are also special land uses, so there's a little bit more discretion as far as we can request information to make an educated decision with special land uses more easily. And so stormwater management plans, detailed calculations for that, it does go back to our engineering standards at the township, which Corey, as our township engineer, does evaluate what that reasonable caliber would be. So, and that's why I just highlighted yellow. I didn't cross it out or anything because I wanted to check what level of review did you want. I don't think you have to put the specification for commercial because we are covered under full site plan. So for the on-site ones, like you said, not the first sentence, it does what you intend it to do, which is just to give some teeth to make sure if it's obviously going onto someone else's property, we can do something about it. But I want to make sure informationally, because a zoning permit doesn't require that level of information, you weren't looking for more information to verify that. So it sounds like that's not.
As we're working on the application, are you requiring a site plan that goes with the residential? No. So if we left the first sentence and struck the rest of one, does that do what we wanted to
Read
do?
your first sentence, Bonnie. I don't think we're on the same sheet of music here yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think so. Go ahead.
The installation of any solar panel shall not negatively impact adjacent properties with additional or excessive stormwater runoff and or drainage.
Okay, we're on the same sheet. But how do you see,
How do you make that?
Yeah.
That's subjective.
Oh, no, that's measurable. That's measurable. Because the general rule of thumb for any drainage component is that as long as you're keeping the grade and you're not changing the natural water course, that's when you're being excessive if you're changing that natural water course with additional water onto your adjacent property. And that's measurable from an engineering standpoint.
I guess that's why I wrote the paragraph. I'd like to see a drawing for a residential application and using the words out of the pond.
And it's
use
up-
the words drainage characteristics.
Because it's up to
Very few residential homeowners are gonna know the topography of their property.
But a pond significantly alters the topography and the water table and.
Right, part of the application is your drawing has to show the drainage characteristics of that site. Has nothing to do with a pond, I just used those words. So I'm looking for a residential,
I'm trying to show a correlation between a pond and in this case.
I just drew the language out of the pond ordinance. But I think we're all trying to make sure the neighbor doesn't get a residential home.
Yeah,
doesn't get too much
there's
water.
no affectation to the neighbor in any
Right.
way, but
Well, already in the ordinance though says what Caitlin said about not diverting natural water flow. Because you don't have to go through all that for a barn.
No,
You know, a few solar panels on an on-site's not, you have to have a little site plan, but it's just kind of a sketched, you know, with dimensions, but you don't need, you know, you can be altering water flow, I feel like, more with an accessory building than, you know, solar panels.
As part two of the thought on what you need on your application is what you want on your application doesn't have to be specifically listed in your zoning ordinance. We say to process a zoning permit, site plan has to be a complete application. And so one of the things you can do is you don't have to list all of these different characteristics. You can say on your application, we need a plot plan that shows property lines, that shows general drainage calculations and stuff. So it keeps stuff out of your ordinance and keeps it a little bit more fluid, because then we can say, hey, we processed one of these. We actually also want this in here too. So it makes it easier to flex over time. Any of that informational stuff, you can just put it on the application, not actually in your ordinance. Because we already have the backup. Whatever that application says, that's what needs to be provided for us to make an educated decision.
We currently do not have an application.
But you can develop one.
Well, there we go. So we don't want to let that fall through the cracks.
Right.
So I want it somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
So I think
technically,
we're all on the same sheet of music, getting that drainage requirement on a residential home. I mean, Article 4 is required for commercial, so that's a site plan.
I just don't think it needs to be so in-depth, and if you just leave it like the general ordinance that you can't obstruct the natural flow of water, that gives you the teeth that you need. Without
Right.
requiring, because, I mean,
But we don't want additional flow because it becomes a hard surface and doesn't absorb the water. It's flowing somewhere.
So the other option is then to allow the building official to make the determination when a site plan would be needed, an engineered plan, depending upon where they're putting it on the property. She may want to then say, and that we could add maybe something in here that says a site plan would be, you know, if determined that, you know, something to the effect that it gives him the ability to request it if it looks like it is going to, and not make everybody like, you know, that's building. If you're sticking it in the middle of your 5-acre property, it's a non-issue, just like a pond, right? But if you're putting it as close to the property line as you possibly can, you're gonna be impacting somebody else with, depending upon which way that's facing, with the runoff of a solar panel, which is different than the shingles of a barn. Because who knows what's coming off those solar panels?
right. Well, that's where I'm agreeing with you, just to make everyone go, you know, anyone that applies, pay a surveyor to do a topography study. If you're putting it in the center of 5 acres, it's not going anywhere. You know, that's
I
where
would just,
think
I
if
would
you
just
could
make it
leave
when required.
Right, leave it to the building department.
If there's an issue that they determine may impact the drainage, then then he's got an ordinance that says he can require a site plan. Is there any kind of magical words we can come up for that?
yeah, I was just looking in your zoning ordinance to see it's not uncommon under your permit section that you would have a grand or a broader statement that said any other information as necessary to determine compliance. You don't have that. And that would make it easier, but the general notion is that just like the planning commission, any information you need to verify compliance, you can absolutely require. And that's something that I think you can put on the application without making it a major ordinance endeavor. But if you would like it to be on the ordinance, what I can bring back next time then, if it would make it easier, is to outline that provision that essentially any additional information to evaluate it, they can request. I don't know that I would shift it to a site plan. That term means coming to the planning commission.
That does
So-
mean that carries a heavy load.
So I think
Plot plan.
I think it makes sense to
Plot plan's a
say,
little different.
so I think it makes sense under general
Right.
we can say that they can request any additional information to verify compliance and then kind of quick patch.
I guess I don't understand why we just wouldn't request a sketch.
Because it's,
I'm not asking for a surveyor, but you should know where the property lines are so you get the setbacks that can't be in the front yard.
I don't know, the sketch is
So
fine,
you-
but we're talking with the water runoff, like to do water calculations. You know, you almost need a surveyor to do it. Like, I can't figure out water calculations, you know, you're
Oh.
not sitting out there with the transit.
I'm not asking that. I'm just asking if, like Bonnie says, if you've got 2 acres or 5 acres or 10 acres, and you can see where they're putting the solar panels, depending on the size, you're gonna know it's gonna be absorbed by the grass before it gets to the property line.
I think
But a
it's
sketch
fine.
shows-
So we do that for all.
so you're not
accessory
asking for an
buildings.
engineered sketch, you're asking for a back of the paper.
Right.
A plot
Plot
plan.
plan,
That's what your ordinance, that's your technical term. You call it a plot plan. And that's associated with your zoning permit, which is what you would review to then have an on-site solar facility.
Okay. All right.
And then, again, you can choose to have a separate one that just says zoning permit for solar facilities. And then you can say, we also want these 6 other additional informations. That's how some jurisdictions do it, just to make it easier, but
Our plot plans are engineered and they show drainage, so I'm a little confused. So,
who's we?
sorry, Washington Township.
Ah,
I
okay.
live someplace else. So, or work someplace else, but basically live there. So a plot plan for us is an engineered plan that shows drainage. So is there something else that we get that doesn't show drainage and it just shows the outline of the, whatever they're building?
The building code is very specific. The building official has the authority to ask for any additional information that would help him to review, making sure that whatever it is he's reviewing, whether it be a house, farm, or solar panel, meets the requirements of the ordinance or ensures that drainage, for instance, is properly encased on the property, that he's not adding excess water to the adjacent property.
So my question is, when somebody comes in and wants to build an accessory building, barn, shed, is there a plot plan that's required?
It's like, you know, we just did a drawing showing where the,
Is it a professional drawing?
no. It's basically, sometimes it's on graph paper, sometimes it's on a map, but I have to ask for very specific setback measurements. And then the building official goes out and determines if those setbacks are met.
So is that what you're looking for, Dennis?
Yeah, I think.
Okay,
I
so you're
think-
just looking for a sketch like that?
Right, and I think the building official should have, I've asked for foundation requirements, and that would be provided by the supplier of the solar panels. We should know that it's gonna stay there.
On the foundation?
Pardon me?
Because,
No, it's just, it could be a steel piling driven into the ground.
well, it depends on what you.
Depends on what?
So,
Okay,
yeah, it's super common. These are pyloned in. They're just hammered into
Right.
the ground. There
Right.
is no foundation.
And the manufacturer would know what that would be.
Correct. And we already have their general requirement that they have to meet all manufacturer specs, and the building inspector is required for that review.
Well, getting back to the drainage thing. Sentence 1. The installation, blah, 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 runoff for drainage. Is there a, can we add a sentence that says drainage or runoff will be reviewed by the building authority at the time of plan submission? Or similar?
I think that would be assumed that you would check compliance for all these things before they're
But
installed.
what I'm trying to do is get away from the subjectivity and nail it down to a specific, it will be performed specifically. Because that's, I think, what sentence 2 ascertains, that the drawing will give that concrete evidence that it was investigated. Well, and sentence 1, we have nothing there that says it's actually going to be done. Without a sketch, without a, do you follow me?
So
That would tie into what Dennis's sketch requirement.
I think you could probably make a pretty good judgment if you had a sketch of where this solar thing is going to be relative to property lines and say, well, it's 64 square feet and that's going to generate X amount of water that's not going into the ground because it's solid. So it's going to run off the solar panel in one direction or the other. And if you're 30 feet from the property line, it's probably not a problem. You know, the ground.
So if I understand Caitlin correctly, she said that on our application, we can ask for the sketch and it doesn't necessarily have to be in our ordinance.
Correct.
Okay,
I don't have
so,
any problem with that as long as we don't lose track of coming up with an application.
That was the point I was trying to make. There is some mechanism to trigger that review.
Is if I were, and if any zoning administrator or the building official, you want to verify that is being followed through. That's a requirement. So that's why I asked, are we requiring them to have topography data? Granted, I know the initial intent was just to make sure it's commercial, but I'm going to want to do something that's in paperwork to verify that isn't going to be a problem. And so if we leave it as drafted, there could be a number of different educated guesses that they could show, like a squiggly line, say generally it goes this away, but it's 100 feet this away. And then you can make an educated assumption without being fully vetted. But let's say if it is a concern or if they want to combat it, then provide us that additional topography information, things of that nature.
Okay, let's move on.
okay, so we struck the second sentence then.
Correct.
Okay.
And then I added, the township may request any additional information to verify compliance with this ordinance. So that's one of those requirements, just to make sure that the round circle.
That satisfies my question.
So next under B, what's highlighted in yellow, I apologize that you don't see the strike through. I'm going to read the original sentence and then you see what I'm proposing to change it to. The original sentence says, the ground-mounted solar energy system may not extend into the side yard or rear setback when oriented at a maximum design tilt and must meet all setback requirements associated with the applicable zoning district as defined in section 8.8. Potentially revising that to say the ground-mounted solar energy system may not extend into the required side yard or rear yard setback. So the word required is helpful because otherwise anything that's between my house and the property line, that is a side yard. Anything between a rear yard or the back of your house and the rear, that's your rear yard. The required setback or the required side yard is what the setback shows. So you're saying you want it to meet whatever building setback is, even at maximum tilt. It's not in that setback. Okay. Or the other alternative language is it cannot extend into that side or rear yard when oriented at max tilt. Oh, accidentally, I did keep that original. So below that, below the or is the original language, and then above it is my recommendation to change it to required side yard and rear yard.
So you struck the or?
Yes.
Okay.
And you want to keep it referenced to section 8.8, which is where we have our setback requirements.
Yep, I'm good with that change.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is talking about number 4, which is talking about the maximum height components. So I propose a minor rephrase on that. Essentially, that's the under the or is what I'm proposing. And you're looking at that height is measured from that ground or tilt of that solar panel.
Okay, so I'm a little confused on how we're measuring it. So it says from the ground to the base of such equipment. Then it
That's
says-
the base.
Oh.
measured from the ground at the base.
Okay, got it. And I'm gonna interject my opinion there too. I believe accessory buildings are 29 feet to the peak. It's 16-foot sidewalls. I don't know if you'd have a solar panel that tall, but that could mess with your height if they're on a roof, right?
So these are only for
Just
ground
ground
mounted.
mounted.
Oh, okay.
So this is giving a
Got it. Yeah,
special
yeah, yeah,
limit.
got it.
What were you saying about accessories though, Nick?
Heights, but this is ground mounted.
He misread
I
it.
misread it.
He was thinking building.
I was
mounted is
thinking
gonna
you were
exceed
keeping these
this.
shorter than the height that your building could be, and how could you put it on a roof if you can't have it over 16 feet?
So the or and the, what's the difference between these two?
So it's really the last sentence where from ground level to the highest point of the solar panel, as opposed to just maximum tilt.
I have a question about that.
Okay.
Oh, ground mounted, I'm sorry. Nope, scratch that till we get to building. Scratch it. Yep, ground mounted. Forget it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So you're using the or such paragraph.
Correct. The or just has it from the highest point on the solar panel. So I don't care if you're arguing the tilt of this or most of these when they get this high, they don't do tilting as much. They're fixed.
They're fixed.
And so I just want to, I guess I want to use a little bit more broad language just to say that it's the highest point. However, they're going to modify that, whatever the highest point, it cannot exceed 16. Seems like that's generally okay, or chew
Yeah.
on it.
I'm good. Some of them.
That includes maximum tilt, is what you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay, then I'm fine.
Okay. Just trying to catch up between my notes here and notes here. So, okay. Next is that you have your ground mounted shall meet all the requirements of accessory buildings. And then I just added per section 2.3. So that means
Where are we?
that's number,
Page 3.
Page 3, number 6.
Oh, it's not highlighted. Okay.
No, it's not highlighted. Bonnie.
on mine I showed the red text, so I apologize that yours doesn't
You're
have
only
all the
allowed to
color
read the
mine
yellow.
does. So I just wanted to verify that was the intent, to have it limited to whatever the accessory building requirements are for single family. So there's special setback requirements associated with accessory buildings. And so whenever there's conflicting provisions, you take the strictest that applies between those things. So we want to make sure there's at least 15 feet from your accessory building to whatever solar facility this may be. But this does bite into the amount of area you can have an accessory building for that calculation. So you're kind of picking between having an accessory building and having solar, and just wanted to check that that was our intent.
So I'm missing it. So you're saying that you're talking about maximum lot coverage? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
So you're talking about maximum lot coverage, and if I already have an accessory building and I want to add solar, I might be at my max, so I can't have solar,
Right, because
and vice versa.
right.
If I've got a solar panel and now I want to add the accessory building, because of lot coverage, I'm not going to be able to do it.
So our
Unless it's roof mounted.
unless it's roof mounted, correct.
There you
So
go.
one of the requirements is that you cannot occupy more than 25% of your required rear yard, and plus 40% of your any non-required rear yard. So we already have requirements in this provision that says you can't be in the required rear yard, but the accessory building stuff says, well, you can be in the required rear yard. So I wonder, is it easier just to say, what is our goal? Is it to make sure that people are choosing the maximum lot coverage and that we are trying to set that general standard associated with it. And we can just copy that language, put it there, and then it's less conflicting with all the other provisions that are different.
Should mimic accessory buildings, myself.
That's kind of what, along the lines of what MTA recommended.
Especially for, not commercial farms.
That's what we're getting
Right,
at.
if you can build a shed there, build a barn there, I think you should be able to have solar there.
What is confusing is when we, in our table of use, have accessory buildings through every, accessory requirements through every zoning, and our zoning ordinance only applies to 1 and 2 family residential uses.
Requirements only do, correct.
So only the residential, but we say accessories through every zoning district
Correct, as accessory buildings are treated as principal.
in an industrial?
Yep.
So
It's a building.
how does, this paragraph doesn't apply to that then?
That's right.
Okay. I'm confused.
So I guess that's what I want, so we're only worried about the lot coverage of solar facilities if it's in our 1 and 2 family residential uses. So I guess I want to check that means you don't care if it's an ag.
Good question. 'Cause
So actually, let me rephrase that, sorry. It says residential uses, it doesn't say zoning districts. I apologize. So it's only when it's accessory to that. So if a commercial wanted an accessory on-site solar facility, other than lot coverage requirements, we don't have 15-foot setbacks that are required between building and solar panels.
That would require a site plan though, no?
Right.
No, not for on-site. A
Oh,
commercial,
personal use of a plant that wants to use that electricity in the plant
We have a,
doesn't.
We have a
require-
site plan requirement for a car charger.
Yeah, we just said that the commercial solar was gonna have to do a site plan. Now you're telling me.
no,
We're
no,
talking
no.
commercial.
We're saying it on-site solar facility that's in a commercial zoning district. So if McDonald's wanted to add 5 solar panels in the back parking lot,
For their use.
this would be an administrative review process.
On that for the car plugs. We wanted a site plan and wanted them to come in for a car charger.
So do we want to change that, I guess, in our table of uses, that commercial and?
To me, that's a site plan change. I just see that as a commercial site plan change, and to keep our site plans reflective of what's being constructed on a commercial property.
So then,
Well, on-site does not require special land use, only the commercial grade. The purpose is to generate electricity for the grid. That's the difference between on-site and commercial grade solar facilities. It's the intent that's different.
Chairman, I have
yes, Ida,
one more.
please.
Did you include a setback between a solar panel and an accessory building for fire lanes?
Right now, we would default to the provision that is in the accessory buildings, which is E, that there's a 15-foot setback required between building and the solar panel. I think so. 15 feet?
I think the accessory building ordinance,
Looking more for commercial. But I'm also looking for.
yeah,
Because I know Don Smith is gonna be all over this. He needs to get his equipment in here safely, so.
Okay.
I'm looking to make sure that, a fire lane or separation wide enough that a fire truck, fire equipment, emergency equipment can do.
So it might be productive to, I guess, go through the accessory building requirements and check what do we want to make sure solar actually meets. So do we think a 15-foot setback from the edge of the solar panel to any other structure is a requirement we want as all facilities?
if you have a outbuilding right now built, and you want to build another outbuilding, what does the ordinance say currently?
I
So
have to,
that would be covered under the previous sentence that you brought up, as as it relates to structures.
But
A
you're not
50
looking at the 25%, you know, how many businesses accessory buildings. I think you're gonna exceed that 25%. When it gets to 10, 20, 30 acres, I'm not too worried about it, except, you know, 2 or 3 more rooms. So if you got a 2 acre increase, you have, you know, 1,200. Pretty good sized barn, and it's taking out almost the whole 25%.
Because we don't have requirements for spacing between buildings other than in multiple family in our section 8.8.
I always refer to John's minutes, how much do you need, and that's how much he's got.
Correct. Fire code does have some parameters there, and we make them meet those.
Just because one barn is on fire, it's not gonna set the other barn on fire.
Correct.
I guess I'm still confused.
Me too. Are we talking about commercial or residential?
residential.
Talking about,
So
Well,
no, we're talking about a solar panel that is not used to be sold put on the grid.
private use.
Private
Private
use, but
use.
it could be on a
Right.
company.
Yeah, it
So
could be
you
a
go
private
still-
shop.
Yeah,
So,
it's still private use. There's no,
right.
I mean, it's
Do
just
they need
that.
something signed?
Thank you for coming. Appreciate your
So if it isn't in a residential zone,
roof and ground mounted. Then across the street, they're all roof mounted.
so if it's not on a residential piece of property, we should require a site plan?
I think we do.
Already.
We want any change that commercial does to update their site plan.
I'm okay with it, but when we,
I was just reflecting back that, I mean, we made that stink for 6 months over a couple EV plugs.
right,
If we're gonna do that, then we're certainly gonna do that for solar panels behind McDonald's
But and
or
it wasn't,
wherever.
and it wasn't an engineered plan that we were requiring. We were just requiring
Right, it's got-
take the last site plan you had and write on what you're doing, you know, so that it wasn't, you didn't have to spend a ton of money to do it.
Taking care of y'all.
Yeah, just something to update the file of the fact that this is what I'm doing now and this is my new site plan.
And you want the planning commission to review it.
In a commercial,
for non-residential.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm
any
gonna change the
non-resident.
A then to a P, which would more trigger a permitted use requiring site plan review. And I think from a usability standpoint, I think it makes sense to add a subsection in there just to clarify processing wise. These districts are considered a zoning permit review, and then these ones require site plan review by the PC. I think that would make it easier for people to understand what direction we're trying to give them.
correct.
Okay, so that's,
When you say accessories and you're talking about an office zone, our ordinance doesn't cover offers for an accessory. I've had a problem since day one on this stuff.
That's gonna come up in the audit.
it
Exactly,
sure
it's
is.
something we can't miss, Nick, and it's the same thing with an application. You know, if we take it out of the ordinance, it's gotta be somewhere. We want it somewhere. So I like what, I can go along with what Caitlin suggested, we make it a P instead of an A.
Right.
I'm just trying to catch up on my notes, what we need to revise it to. Okay, so I think we figured out the use conflicting component. Now I guess circling back to, are there other requirements that are in the accessory building thing that we just want to actually pull out of there so we don't have conflicting provisions? So one of those questions, I think, is building setback from a solar facility to anything else. Fire code does have some parameters there, but do we just want to say solar panels have to be at least 15 feet away unless otherwise required by the fire chief? Fire code, correct.
I think we should leave the distance to defer to Don on that. I mean, 15 foot, for example, but I think we should just defer to Don and see what he would like to see between them.
Well, if we're gonna, so right now, you would assume accessory buildings are at least 15 feet, and that's worked. So I would say just keep 15 feet, but then also make clear, based on batteries and how they have it set up, fire code may request more of a setback. But I think having a baseline helps your average user, I guess. All right, so I'll add that.
Just making sure that the fire department is aware of something wrong with batteries.
The other component is considered lot coverage. So accessory buildings are only allowed to cover a certain amount. That's how I can figure out what's appropriate. I can make sure that for the residential uses, maybe I just cross-reference that one provision over there. Because other than, I guess, when you talk about when it's in commercial or if it's industrial, we have a lot coverage requirement. As long as it doesn't exceed that, we're also okay. Is that fair? Okay.
We're also collecting stormwater in commercial where we're not collecting stormwater in residential, which is the other thing that's why you have lot coverage, right? For stormwater.
In aesthetics and
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll add the cross-reference to accessory buildings to that specific provision, so it's a little less conflicting. And then reference max lot coverage for the other districts. Okay. Those are all, I believe, so I think that is all the proposed corrections to ground mounted. Any other thoughts before we move to building/structure mounted? Okay. So we did change that terminology to be structure mounted. So I'll make sure that change is done.
Yeah, before you get into building mounted.
It's no longer building mounted, it's structure mounted.
Just made that change tonight.
You're going to allow them on a fence and a sign and a whatever.
So the two that I highlighted is the may be installed on any roof surfaces of a building. That was more related to our earlier discussion on roof mounted versus building mounted. So I don't know that you need to because we redefined it to building or structure, but we can keep it if it makes people more comfortable. But we allow it to be not just on any roof surface, it can be on a wall. So I don't know that it's necessary.
Strike it. I would almost strike that because we did just open it up.
Then the next one is that any solar collector, again, when it's on a structure or building that is parallel, shall not be installed, mounted on a building wall that is parallel to the public right-of-way, preventing glare on the oncoming traffic. So some communities, they change the language just to say that they're ensuring that there's no glare on traffic, not that you can't put it on that face. Because right now I would say, well, the answer is you can't put it on the street-facing side whatsoever. So as long as that's the intent, no problem. I wanted to check that was the intent. Was it the glare or was it also the aesthetics part? That's why we never want it on the front public-facing side.
Well, we require that the all panels shall be tempered non-reflective surfaces.
That's for commercial grade, correct?
No.
Or
it's
that's
under
the general?
Provisions.
Okay, then yes.
So it shouldn't glare. I don't think.
So it's a matter of aesthetics then.
Yeah.
Typically.
So we don't need the word glare in there. I don't know.
Well, the question I have is, again, you can make your own policy character on if somebody were to have a south-facing house and want to plaster their entire front of their house with solar, is that a yes or is that a no? Or a maybe?
Your house is set back off the road 600 feet with woods in front of it.
They're not even going to ask.
Well, okay. Okay, let's not go there. But it becomes a moot point. I think it's a discretionary at the time of,
So then the maybe becomes is the real regulatory requirement that they can put it anywhere, but anywhere that's on the building must be screened. Or we can put a certain footage away, the house has to be a certain footage away from the road. Those are the two metrics.
Well, you could go like what you have with accessory buildings and just not have it on the front. You can't have an accessory building in front of your house. You can't have solar panels on the front of your house.
but there are cases where we do allow accessory buildings in the front of houses.
Right, so they could come to ZBA and get a variance, same with solar panels. I think this
That's
is,
what I'm saying, it's just-
yeah, but I think it's a general rule, you don't have them on the front. And that would do the aesthetics without,
Okay.
because again, like you said, someone's 600 feet off the road, want them on the front of their house, and they're behind 600 feet of woods, ZBA is gonna,
So then the practical difficulty goes back to the orientation of the house, which you did or your predecessor constructed. Is it the most energy efficient to put it there versus somewhere else? Unless we write something in that says the PC can modify it without becoming a variance. How complicated do you want it to get?
On the residential side, I don't think we want to get too complicated.
I think I want to think about this one.
Okay, I can highlight it and keep it highlighted. Is there anything you would like to sample? Would you like to see what it would look like if you were to say PC or examples of screening language you could put in, or example of the so many feet off the road, or if the PC if you want it on the front of the house, you have to come to the PC, and these are the standards associated with that approval. Do you want to see any of that, or just think about it?
Do certain HOAs wouldn't allow it.
Probably not, but I don't know if their bylaws would be that strict. Most don't. Ah, okay. Mine does not.
And that's what I'm thinking of, the requirements that we put on the commercial along Van Dyke. This is a public right of way for maximum, we want the brick and most of so now all of a sudden then yeah, so I need to think about this one.
Alright, so I'll keep it yellow. Won't.
These are panels on the outside of the structure, not the roof.
These are, yeah.
These are
This is
building
on a
mounted.
wall.
Building
Yeah,
mounted.
it specifically
structure
says on the wall, a building wall. So if it's on, you can still have it on the roof facing the road. That's not an issue. Correct.
Yeah, see, so I'm thinking,
You can chew on it. No problem. And then 3 is not really new language. I just took it from your table of uses where there was a bunch of the other miscellaneous bullets and then moved it there. So that's the one that says that you have to make sure any solar collectors cannot exceed 2 feet of the roof and then of that building.
it's my 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm making live changes, so my numbering's getting a little bit off. I apologize. Some other communities also put setbacks for structure mounted that has to be 2 feet away from eaves, troughs, and other sensitive roof parts. Common sense does apply. Any competent solar provider is not going to put it in those places.
Right.
But some communities do also put that requirement. I didn't draft that for you. Didn't
We
know
had
what
it.
level of concern you had.
I think
Got it in here one time.
I think we just defer that.
Wouldn't that be in the building code, not
Correct.
necessarily in,
Correct. So I don't think you have to address it. It is covered other places, but I didn't know.
I think that's best left to the building code, because that could change at any time, based on best practices and industry standards.
So we're about to hit the commercial installations. How are we feeling?
Someone like we're gonna take a 3-minute break. Just take a 3-minute break at 8:15 and 30 seconds. We will reconvene at 8:18 and 30 seconds. I need to stretch my knees. Oh, goodness.
Can we turn these off for the timeout?
Article 2, general provisions, commercial solar energy collector system. Caitlin, the floor is yours.
Okay, I guess one of the first things, and I apologize you don't see it because the red line version didn't make it to your guys' desk, but I did propose taking out section 1 intent. Again, I'll read it to you. It says the intent of the commercial solar energy collector system is to provide electricity for retail and wholesale. All CSECS must comply with the following requirements. Oh, wait, no, that was a typo on my end. We do want to make sure that they meet the section requirements of 230. Okay, I will make that note. That should stay. Apologize for that. But you don't necessarily need the intent portion, and you want to separate that out to say, whatever commercial grade, it just meets the requirements we just went over. So I think having that as a separate bullet, I think is helpful, and that you don't need to relabel that as intent. Did that kind of make sense to people?
Yeah, you need to define what commercial means, of course.
We do.
Yeah.
So that's actually in a separate section under our definitions.
Okay.
Well, actually, we went over it during the, your definitions are in the table of use requirements, technically. That's where we should have the use definitions for the utility scale solar facilities, which is the resale of generated electricity. So we do cover it somewhere else, what that definition is.
In the table of use.
So under Additional requirements, I wanted to kind of clarify, the township already on the books, you have requirements for a development impact statement, which is section 4.4, and traffic impact statements, which is section 4.5. And so what you see in a Roman numeral 4, environmental analysis, I propose adding that a development impact statement must be provided. And I guess what I wanted to do is just kind of clarify, are we building off of requirements that we already have that everyone has to meet? Because one of the things is you can require special things as special uses because you're special. But at the same time, if you make somebody too special, are you treating other uses similarly? And that's the legal term, is you have to treat similar uses similarly. And so going to section section, I gotta grab the ordinance just so I don't misspeak here. And when we talk about that section, there's a whole bunch of information that is required. So I didn't know if everyone is familiar with that it makes sense for me just to kind of quickly say, this is what's required in development impact statement. And then do we need to duplicate information that's special to commercial, or do we feel like it's more or less covered? Does that make sense?
So you're saying environmental analysis is covered under Article 4? So we would strike that paragraph?
Well, I would keep the cross-reference, and I would make sure it's clear that it's required. So a development impact statement is encouraged whenever you have a special land use or a site plan that's more than 5 acres. Any rezoning, you can request that information. Any residential development of 50 or more units and a density of 4 units per acre, that's when you automatically, the PC has the right to require this. And I would say in any situation, because all solar facilities are over 5 acres and they're special land uses, you can require this report. But I do think the cross-reference is helpful.
Okay.
Because you're going to want this information. And so it talks about an initial data, it talks about needing wetland data, it talks about needing that concept plan, it talks about land use impacts, hours of operation, public utility demands.
This is in Article 4 now?
4.4, correct. You have to have public services, you have to have impacts to natural features, which talks about existing natural features will be preserved, any impact to groundwater quality or quantity, which isn't to some extent as concerning for commercial solar. There's usually a couple variables of that. Usually it's in case of the boom fire. That's when communities get concerned about water quality with solar facilities, or neglect of their systems, in which you then have contaminants leaking in. And so I guess I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of 4.4. Do we feel like that's sufficient, or do we feel like there's other specialty things that we wanted to make sure is listed? Or we can put a pin in that question, look at section 4.4. I can also include it in your next packet, just so then you're not flipping all over the place.
I like that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a note then that I will include this original section, and we can kind of determine, because one of the other things that we anticipate coming down the pipeline is that there's other utility uses that we may want to use that to. So I would say an easy hole is that it doesn't say any surface water. It only says groundwater, and we're going to care more about that. So that might be a quick fix. That makes sense for everybody to follow that new rule, as opposed to just this one has so much specialty to it. Okay.
Can I go back to paragraph I?
Sure.
So, description of the energy facility, nameplate capacity of the facility, address, name, address, and phone number of the applicant. Should we be asking for the operator, the contractor, and the property owner as well?
I have to go check what your site plan review requirements are, but that also double plays into it. I didn't redline it because I didn't see it as problematic, but the applicant, the operator,
Could be a contractor and a property owner. It could be 4 different entities.
Correct. All of the property owners do have to file and sign off on it, even if there's lease agreements and we approve of those lease agreements. So we will get documentation of property ownership automatically. But applicant and operator, I think you can, to be abundantly clear, I think it's fair to say whoever the operator is.
What about a contractor?
Well, the contractor to do what? Install it?
Build it, yeah. Operator may not necessarily.
They won't know that at site plan review.
Right?
I don't think we require that on any other project.
They may not have their contractor identified at the, but an operator, if they're moving forward with it, they should have that identified.
Yeah, that was kind of like the tower. They had, you know, who's it? The tower on Glover Road there, who was the operator and the owner in that. They didn't announce it, I don't think, though, did they? They didn't announce.
But it was on the building application.
Oh, was it?
A building came after site plan, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can do applicant and operator.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Any other questions on that page before we kind of move down? Okay.
I'll look at 4.
Let's see here. What did I do? Oh, I also had the same question in Roman numeral 5. I'm sorry you don't see this text, but I did propose to add a cross-reference to the traffic impact statement. Again, it has general information that we require associated with it. I think it's fair to say during construction, that's a concern. I don't know how much of that concern is actually in practicality. So wind systems, you obviously want to have that plan because they got to beef up those turn radiuses so the pre-manufactured pipes can go wherever they need to go. But for solar components, I mean, it's such a temporary component. I mean, they go in there and for 2 weeks, they're just drilling pylons in. That's what Lapeer experienced. So I don't know that there's as much of a traffic concern. If we still feel like it is merited, we can do that. But I would say for this use and how they're constructed, I don't know that that's really necessary.
So this is what you recommended in 5. Yeah, okay.
So I added the cross-reference at a minimum. I think it makes sense to reference our already standard requirements.
Section 4.5.
Correct. But in general, kind of taking a step back, is traffic really going to be a concern during construction for a solar facility? So does that mean removal, or would you like to cross-reference that that's something you can require, but you can also waive it? The applicant won't know that, though, until they come and talk to you. Or I can highlight it yellow and we can think about it.
Let's put a pin in it.
Okay, we will think about it. Okay. Next is talking about setbacks. Again, apologize that you don't see my red line version. I proposed a slight modification that just clarifies, I think, regardless of the zoning district, I don't recommend ever relisting zoning districts because we already clarified in a different section, so we don't want to duplicate information 2 places and have a conflicting. But have.
Wait a minute. Didn't you say strike this telecommunication interference?
I'm on setbacks still, though. Oh, no.
No, I'm on Article 6.
Ours goes right from transportation access plan to telecommunications interference.
Oh, you're looking at my review letter. Yeah, that's something that with telecommunication interference, I think you just have to be cautious on. I didn't highlight it yellow. I did not recommend any revisions to it, just because it's one of those expertise components.
So I wrote these, my handouts got the MTA language.
Wouldn't that have to be determined at the time of manufacture? Would that be something that the installation would impact?
The way I interpret what MTA wrote was they have to tell us if there's gonna be an interference with the various things in that handout. That way, we don't have a way to say what's good or bad. Let them tell us, is the way MTA wrote it.
I think that's going to be easier than what you currently have in
Right.
6, which is very
I
technical
have no
based.
idea what that says.
Well, and with the way technology changes, that's in there now could be obsolete in 6 months.
All right, so we're thinking we'll change it to the MTA Dennis's language that's on your guidance.
If the facility is reasonably expected to have an impact on television signals, microwave signals, agricultural global position systems, military defense radar, radio reception, or weather and Doppler radio, a plan to minimize and mitigate that impact is required. Information in the plan concerning military defense radar is exempt from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act and shall not be disclosed by the commission or the electric provider or independent power producer except pursuant to court order.
Right out of MTA's language for solar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So kind of like what we do with other things, when it's a jurisdiction that's not under our control, you get them to approve it and give us their approval, and that's really all we need, right? We just need them to say, we're good.
Most likely, they're gonna say nothing, no impact.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just need them to tell us they're good and we're good,
Then we're covered.
right? So they just have to disclose, and if they disclose, then they just have to give us the documentation that says they've made it good.
So I will substitute for Dennis's language. Okay. And so one of the things that I want to double check that everyone's on the same page at is that we require a setback of the solar facilities to be 150 feet from all non-participating properties and right-of-way lines. So does everyone know the terminology participating versus non-participating?
I know Dennis and I do.
So-
Participating is if they have 2 parcels.
Well, so
Right.
participating is you are getting financially compensated. You have a contract for this project on your parcel. So that makes you part of that project, as opposed to somebody that does not have a lease agreement. I'm not participating. I don't get fiscally compensated. That's my property line setback. So what, and this is something that's consistent with the PA 233 requirements, is that they let you blur property lines. So for commercial grade solar projects, it's not uncommon, they saddle property lines. They go right through them as if a half a panel could be on this side and half a panel could be on that side. But they're grouped together because they're participating parcels. So I just wanted to check. So we already require 15 feet separation from buildings. So if I'm a participating property, the setback requirement is at least 15 feet from property, and you just got to watch your lease agreements. The only reason I bring it up is because one of my other clients, this became private. What level of oversight does the township want to be involved in versus private property values? So some of those private agreements have them 15 feet from their house, and they did not read their paperwork close enough to realize, oh, if I sign this lease and I'm a participating, it's going to be right there. Now that's read your own paperwork, as opposed to putting in requirements that clarify, we don't want this, even if you're participating, to be 50 feet within your house.
I think if you're collecting money and you don't read your document,
Bets are off
it's on you.
if you don't have a lawyer review
Yeah,
it.
right. If you don't have your attorney review it, I don't think we should get involved in that, in participating properties.
So this is the one that we wrote that basically allows the participating parcels not to have the setback.
Somewhere I thought we had that in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I'm apologizing. You don't see the crossed out one that you had originally, where setbacks are only applicable when a participating parcel in the solar project abuts a non-participating parcel.
Right.
When
So what
not-
we didn't want to do is have two participating parcels having the 150-foot setback, because we wanted to be able to not
Flow,
eat up
right.
as much property. We wanted it to concentrate on as little land as possible. So that's why we eliminated the setback between two participating
Makes
parcels. And
perfect sense to
And
me.
that doesn't have to be written in there, because if you go to your definition of it, it explains that they're already merged. So for the layman's person, I think that's helpful, but for anyone that's going to be reviewing these documentation, developing these, your definition is sufficient. Because we define if you're getting financial compensation, you're participating, we don't list that you have setbacks, so there is no setback.
I'm good.
Yeah, I knew we had it in here, but it's now gone.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I just want to,
You'll get the next copy that actually shows all those things. I'll ensure it.
So where's the 15 feet? Where are you saying that?
So we decided in the general provision.
Oh, okay, so
230.
you're not on this page. Very good. Okay.
Correct. Yep, so that's something that is going to be a new standard, that commercial grade or whatever, you're 15 feet away from a building.
Okay.
Which I think fire officials probably want at least 15 anyway for apparatuses purposes. Now, this is a special land use, so if the fire chief looks at it and says, actually over here I want 50, or we full ability to do that. So we're just setting a minimum. Common sense does apply here.
Okay.
After setbacks, I apologize, my memo is out of order. That's what happens when you flip to all these different sections. You have sound. And so I apologize, your original language talked about that your sound equipment is audible based on non-participating property lines, and that they shall not exceed.
I just saw an inconsistency between B4 ground-mounted residential and the ground-mounted commercial. You don't have, from the ground, you don't have the base called out there. And instead of maximum tilt, I think you have any tilt up above
Height.
on height. There's an inconsistency between this verbiage and the previous verbiage.
it should be consistent.
Good catch.
Not to jump around on you, but something we could do is it in your definitions? I swear you already had it. I thought in your zoning ordinance you had a diagram
Yeah,
that
there is one.
already shows
Yep.
Yeah.
what the maximum height is. Would you like that just to be put multiple places? So I could put it there, and I could put it here.
I wouldn't put it there, I would make a reference to it, only because if it gets changed in one place, it may not get changed in the other place 2, 3, 5, 12 years down the road.
So do you want more simplistic language and definition, or do you want simplistic definition language in this section?
Simplistic here, and then cover the bases in the definition. Referencing that definition. Or, like you have the other reference, where was it at here?
Yeah, because you're going to have a professional planner that's doing this, and they're going to be following those references versus a homeowner that's trying to chase this down.
So I think, because I know the diagram that you currently have in your zoning ordinance, more shows it next to the racking definition, as opposed to the maximum height, and it doesn't address base of equipment or things of that nature. So I guess I want to make sure.
I just want consistency from one to the other. So if we're going to have that level of detail at that definition level, then it needs to follow suit, and this needs to point to that.
And do.
And both the height description here in commercial and residential should basically should have the same exact verbiage. I don't see any difference other than the associated structures. That's not in the other part, but that's because of the zoning district.
Yep, so I can make changes to reflect that.
Okay.
Under C for sound, you have it at 65 decibels, and I propose to change it to 45 decibels. 65 is a lot more generous.
I thought we had it at 0 at the property line.
You did at one point, yeah. I think you gotta be reasonable. Even, yeah,
We had it at 0. at the property.
Brian wrote up all that stuff when he was on the board.
Yeah,
So you're correct.
You
It
mean-
shall
you
not be, it shall be inaudible
there you go.
at the non-participating property line. No, so you have to put still some type of decibel reading, because one of the things is that these operators argue is, so am I doing a baseline evaluation, which you can structure it this way so there's not really losses. You have a sound evaluation, and then you have post evaluation once it's actually installed. So that's where you could say there's no audible change because we measured it before construction and after construction.
It should,
as opposed to
that's what
playing-
it should be, no audible change pre and post construction.
Okay, so we kind of like the idea of restructuring this so it is not audible at the non-participating property lines. I guess I got confused when it talked about the 65 decibels in that draft version. And we like the idea of requiring a pre-construction, post-construction verification. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that reference either, because I'm sure we didn't do it. That might have been,
Brian?
yeah. See
Yeah, I got-
Article 7.6.1 noise at 65 decibels. So, yeah,
Yeah, I think it was, well, he's kind of, yeah, he's.
we liked the non-audible at the non-participating property level.
It will conflict with our ordinance though, so we're specifying this. Our ordinance in 7.6I says not to exceed 65 decibels.
Correct.
Just this ordinance.
Yep.
Okay.
The other component is regarding lighting. I apologize that you don't see my red line version, but one of the proposed changes I had is because the lighting is proposed to be downward facing, shielded, no glare, no flashing. Those are all covered under our general lighting requirements, so I think we're okay.
It was redundant. Yep.
Okay.
Good with that.
Struck the whole thing.
The other thing that I propose to strike completely, again, apologize you don't see my red line version, is the ground cover, that you require ground cover for this place. This is all covered under our other landscaping requirements of disturbed ground must be recoded. That's already in section 7.3. So I think we are covered there as well.
Yeah, let's remove any redundancies.
That'll be
Next.
conflicting at some point.
Next is talking about soil samples. This is more of like a logistics component. Again, for establishing environmental baseline for people that are highly concerned about the contamination of these systems, either because of a boom fire situation or just neglect. It's important to set an environmental baseline, so that's why some communities require soil testing. In our site plan review process, we already require soil samples to be provided to ensure building components. Most of these solar facilities are pyloned in, other than they put substations and other kind of smaller buildings. So I wanted to check if I were to, you don't see the deleted and relocated, but that's what I would propose is the intent of the soil samples to set that environmental baseline where we should just relocate it there.
So, but part of that also says that during the life of the project and or during decommissioning, the township may request soil samples to determine if any environmental contamination has occurred. Is it covered, is that part covered someplace else?
So I just think we should relocate it.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah,
this,
so I think,
Under environmental.
yeah, so just, like you said,
Page
having a
7,
pre and a post-construction, and then as you said, as part of decommissioning to ensure that there's not making a brownfield or something like that. So I agree with the language. I just want to relocate it.
where's it going?
Page 7, paragraph BI.
So I put under the environment impact statement, and I just put it under soils and vegetation. I put soil samples. So I agree with the language. I just want to relocate it so it's under the environmental impact. The other one is concerning, that I apologize you don't see, is the land clearing one. I think that is difficult when we look at that in comparison to other uses, that we don't stop someone from clear cutting their land. And so that becomes the special problem.
Except that I don't see this to be the same as other uses in that we know that there's going to be a life expectancy of these, and then at some point, they may just go away.
You could say the same thing about a farm field, though. I cleared it, and now I'm going to put beets there.
They can clear their farm field. They've got the right to farm. So nobody's going to stop them from doing that.
I guess you can say that about a plaza, though. Look at
Same
how
thing
many,
if-
communities have vacant businesses that clear it and just leave them.
And Van Dyke, specifically, like, we do potentially have commercial or an industrial facilities, they can just clear cut. So for more intense uses, we don't have any stipulation. Some ordinances do soften this to clarify that any level of preservation we highly encourage, but to simply limit it in the most minimum way necessary, now that's very arbitrary. And I guess I don't want to set up the township to say, well, we deny this project because you deleted 25% of this forest area, and I think you can still be productive and not have that.
Well, we are making them plant a whole bunch of trees, so I think in light of that, I'm not hanging onto this paragraph with both hands. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Is everyone else general consensus?
So it's deleted, right?
That would be my recommendation.
They can plant beets.
What's that?
They can plant beets.
Well,
So the topsoil has to stay on site, though. Do we cover that someplace else?
that,
The requirement's staying, as far as that's concerned. And then we would just treat topsoil like we do any other operation. If they choose to, if they have so much soil, I think it becomes a mining issue. Most of the operators, at least when the Lapeer one went in, and as far as I know, they don't do significant soil changes. Some of those lease contracts are a little scary, though. They own your soil, and so they can sell it off.
you can. As a developer, you can sell it. So to recover that site plan, if this thing were ever to go, they'd have to bring it back in.
Well, it depends on what your reclamation plan requires, right? So it's still
Yes.
buildable even if you lost 4
That's why we do
inches,
soil samples at the beginning.
but we're only looking for environmental quality problems,
So
right?
we're looking for,
Well, no, it's some baseline soil samples. Really, there should be a soil sampling plan.
But what's the
we eliminate
purpose?
Well, because when you recover it, you wanted the same soil samples as you saw before you built.
So is that a property owner problem that well, so again, not a farmer, but if you don't work agricultural soil, it ceases to operate that way.
Right.
And so is that the private property owner to watch their lease agreements to see how that soil is? We can be concerned as a jurisdiction of quality and contamination of that soil. That becomes the public health issue. But if somebody signed a lease and they said, you can take my topsoil and sell it because that's how the contract's written, do we want to be in that environment or not?
Probably not. Leave it up to the landowner?
Because it makes sense. We have a very clear public health concern if it's contamination based.
Right.
That's why we're asking for the pre and the post. But correct, then it becomes are you taking so much soil that this is a mining operation in which you need to do another permit for that? And I would have to double check what that yardage is.
So how much did they disturb at the mill site or whatever that is?
Almost none.
Yeah, I think what they did
So this is a
was
non-issue. So
they
we can
gravelled
just,
over, there's this level of gravel that allows vegetation to grow through and manages the water runoff as well. But you got some
Yeah,
minimum.
it's to deter erosion.
Right,
Just
I think
purely
that
to
was,
deter erosion.
I think it was probably put
There-
over the topsoil.
Yeah, they're meant to be access roads that they loosely maintain.
Yeah, they don't use them very much.
They do not.
so if you don't take the soil off, then you don't have to worry about bringing soil back. I guess this is where I'm going. Because in extensive reclamation situations, you have topsoil that somebody needs to be looking at those load tickets to see where they are coming in from then. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't take it off, you don't have to worry about it coming back on. I would just as soon leave the requirement that the soil has to stay. That way we're not worrying about it later on.
I don't have any problem either way. But contractors generally sell the topsoil off. They did it at the fire hall.
But that's for a major excavation of a building.
Yeah,
That's different.
That's
different
they're actually
than-
adding a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of.
You're not going to be putting
Ground coverage
topsoil back
between the-
where the building is because the building's there. So you've got all this topsoil you've got to remove, and it's not ever going to go back.
All right.
Versus this, that they're just sticking a bunch of sticks in the ground, and at some point, you want somebody to be able to just move that topsoil back onto where it once was without worrying about where that came from.
There should be very little topsoil disturbance.
Yeah.
Because that's basically, any topsoil disturbance costs money.
Yep.
And they don't want to spend money.
So
Since I wouldn't want to spend money.
So what are we doing?
I'd like to keep the provision to keep the soil on site.
So, if it's not worded to anyone's satisfaction, maybe something that's along the lines of as minimal disturbance as possible. In some fashion. Just
So there's two requirements there. There's one, which is similar to the tree clearing. We're encouraging you not to disturb more than what you need to. And then there's the second requirement that is, if you do disturb soils, you're not allowed to take those off-site. They have to stay on-site. So two different concepts.
That's the old language. Pretty much the old language.
If they're putting up a building, they can't leave it on site because there's no place to disperse it. There's potentially no place to disperse it without changing the topography of the land, the water runoff, erosion, and so forth. So that would have to be addressed then.
Don't they have to put up a berm?
I thought it was an option.
Okay.
They can
Well,
choose
there
to
you
put
go.
up a
They can
berm,
put up a berm.
but they do usually have substations or, minimal buildings that they are putting. And sometimes they do go down a little bit for the base of those access roads and things of that nature. So do we require that for other uses when it gets to a certain amount?
I think in our commercial ordinance, it says for driveways, which I believe a road would fall under, that all the topsoil has to be removed.
In the construction phase of the road, yes.
We're getting to access drives in a moment. Because these would not be considered, so
I
the
think-
driveway would be something, but all these access roads, it's super common jurisdictions provide lesser requirements for.
It wouldn't, they don't have the same load requirements and so forth.
No.
If we can't come to consensus there, the meeting's wearing on, let's move on. And
I'll
I
highlight
don't-
it yellow and we
I
can
don't-
chew on it.
I don't think any harm in leaving it in, to be honest with you, because it's not gonna have much effect on anybody that's putting in a solar commercial anyway.
I'm gonna keep the topsoil component but highlight it yellow. Okay. And then similarly, we have that that environmental impact. We'll chew on that. I'll kind of pull some things together just to kind of better clarify that. I didn't have anything on access drive. I thought your language was relatively customary, unless anyone else had questions or concerns. Next is talking about fencing. One of my coworkers that's also does reviews of this, he had mentioned that he was aware of some other codes where Knox box keys to emergency personnel may not be allowed by those operators. I don't know the full extent of that, but I did highlight it yellow. I figured there were other individuals that would have more knowledge than that. But my coworker had said, don't think you can require Knox boxes for that public utility to emergency personnel. So I just flagged it. So I don't know
So-
the full extent of that.
I don't either.
Is it,
Because it's common to do that for other uses that are, private businesses and things of that nature. I don't know, once you become a utility company, there's some other
So is that a-
components, I'm not sure.
a security issue from the standpoint, like a water facility where, widespread poisoning or in this case, widespread power outages could be.
I figured your fire chief would probably know the answer. I just didn't reach out to him to specifically ask it.
Let's put a pin in it and we'll ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you could leave it in there, make the exception during site plan to not have one if they're that against it.
You could add something that says the planning commission may waive this
I thought you could
requirement.
waive any requirement.
So you can waive informational requirements. The planning commission cannot waive any regulatory requirements unless specifically stated.
This might be a.
I just wanted to check with somebody else.
Flag that for looking at regulatory compliance there.
Okay, will do. Next, under public safety, I propose that you expand that language to make sure it's police protective services, because you don't have a township department for police. So whoever provides police services is part of this review. I think it's also really important that you also have Lapeer County Emergency Management associated with it. I didn't have an opportunity to connect with the emergency manager for Lapeer County, but that a major facility with all those batteries and things of that nature, you would want to work in harmony with them as they are the regional coordinator for anything in the Lapeer County region. So I do want to call them specifically and say, we're going to pull you into this process. Because it's not just us against the world, it's you're here with us. And then some of my other communities, which is brought up later, but we also include reviewers of those who have mutual aid. So that way, if Emily City, in case of a fire in a solar field, Emily is going to come and back us up. And so we want to make sure, same with Dryden or things of that nature, we want to make sure they have an opportunity to also look at the plan, have a general understanding, and make sure they have that paperwork on file so we can all be the most prepared for those installations. So that sounds like a general yes to those revisions. One of the other corrections I was proposing was it was a cross-reference to any signage has to meet our ordinance requirements. That is kind of a given because we do have sign requirements there. So I don't know that that was necessary cross-referenced. So I did propose to remove it.
It'll show up on a site plan review, right?
That if they choose to provide that documentation at that point in time, there is other state requirements associated with where signage has to be and things of that nature for that use. One of the other components was looking through my letter, other jurisdictions do to kind of cover some of their bases is not only do they require operators to provide training for our first responders, but they require an inventory to be done during the site plan review process of our fire assets. And this is when you get more into the battery storage facilities, but commercial solar is also pulled into that, because you want to know if there's any special equipment you need to deal with whatever apparatuses they're choosing, and that's their job, because we only need that because of you. And that's something that they should do the homework on, report back to us, we verify and do that. So that's other informational requirements to identify those gaps, and help provide that intel. So I do recommend that we could add that language.
Sense.
Yep, sounds good.
How are we feeling? We are at L of
Well,
D.
it's 9:01. I think we table this at this point because we still have a fair amount of agenda to get through.
And so looking for me for next time, do you want to not make, I guess, number 6 and just kind of have the next meeting go through the remainder of these, just so then we're not kind of playing with half drafts or anything
Yeah,
of that
absolutely.
Can
nature?
you send out the markup one though?
Do you still want the markup one?
Well, the one you're using.
That's
has
where
everything.
I
you
will
are for
fix
this.
the draft I am working on, so then you see all the cross
Yes.
lines,
Well, yeah, none of
yellows.
the changes we made
Yes.
today.
Yeah.
Correct.
We'll do that once we get through the first time.
Yeah.
Yep, I will make sure that you have a properly exported one that shows as intended. Apologies for that.
That we worked off today.
Yes, yep, so it should have lots of colors.
What happened?
Sometimes if you export it in certain attitudes, I thought I always had it, so then I export it so it reflects those changes. But sometimes the computer decides to be smarter than you and says, oh, you actually wanted those all not shown right. So apologies.
Very good. I'm pleased with the results.
Okay, and progress. I should really pull the bylaws regarding the election. Bear with me a second. Bylaws. Next item on the agenda would be the election. Election of officers. I'm going to run through the five bullet points here just to refresh everybody. Officers shall be nominated and elected at the first regularly scheduled meeting in the month of January. That'll be today. The process shall begin with the office of the chairman, followed by the vice chair, then secretary. We had the formal notice by Bonnie, the secretary, last week. Commissioners, that's item B. Item C, commissioners nominated for an office shall be given the opportunity for acceptance of declination of said nomination. Acceptance of. I think that should say.
Acceptance
Or declination. It should be.
Another
or.
typo.
Of said nomination. Yeah, of doesn't make any sense. A simple majority of the total votes cast will determine the election of each officer. Absentee ballots shall not be permitted for the nomination and election of officers. Well, there's nobody absent, so that covers that. Okay, I will accept any nominations for the chair.
Nominate Kevin Vallalonger to continue in the chair position.
I'll support that.
I accept the nomination. Thank you both for your continued confidence in me. We shall have it says we need to do I think it's got to be roll call. It doesn't say roll call, but I think it should be roll call. So, I apologize.
Any other nominations?
Were there any other nominations that? 3 times?
Okay, somebody didn't hear.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Again, any other nominations? Okay. Now we may have a roll call, please. Madam
Trying to
Secretary.
make sure I can capture this. Nick,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Leo.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you all. Nomination for the vice chair.
Vice Chair?
Support.
We have a
Accept.
a motion by Dennis and a support by, it was YouTube, wasn't it?
Both of us, yeah.
Yeah.
What, runoff?
Arm wrestle.
Yeah, this one.
So any other nominees or nominations put forth? Again, nominations? Dennis? Anybody else? No? I guess we'll have a roll call vote on the nomination of Nick Giacalone by Dennis and supported by Bonnie.
Bonnie, not Tracy.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I heard them both and I couldn't tell who was first. So,
It doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Dennis,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Kevin,
yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Leo.
Yes.
Motion carries. Nick will be the vice chair for the term 2026. Secretary, should we, this is one of those positions that really has a lot on their shoulders. Should we go through some of the requirements for secretary? The duties of the secretary. The secretary shall perform the usual functions of the office and such other duties as chairman or commission may direct. Secretary is to proofread and coordinate with the recording secretary in order to present accurate planning commission minutes to the planning commission for approval. The secretary is also to prepare the annual report for the planning commission approval. In the event of the absence or inability of the chair or vice chair to discharge the duties of the chair, such duties shall devolve upon the secretary during such absence. Well, there's another typo, oof, disability of the chairman or vice chair. So it looks like we got a little tune-up on item C there. The secretary shall be responsible for maintaining and updating the planning commission bylaws, incorporating all changes approved by a vote of the planning commission members in accordance with Article 13, that's the X. Amendment of the rules of procedures. Any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Bonnie Kraus for the secretary, position of secretary.
Support.
Tracy, it was nominated by Dennis motion by Dennis to nominate Bonnie Kraus for secretary and supported by Tracy Kwinski. Are there
I accept.
any other nominations? Any other thoughts? Nominations? No? Again? No? Have a roll call vote, please.
Dennis,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Leo.
Yes.
The motion by Dennis to nominate Bonnie Kraus to secretary and supported by Tracy Quincy passes. Thank you, Bonnie, for accepting that role. I know it's very detail orientated and you seem to handle it with ease.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Bonnie. Appearingly handle it with ease.
Be careful what you wish for. Right?
You take it in
We'll
stride.
see. We haven't got to the annual minutes yet.
You take it in stride, so, okay. The report, 2020.
Liaison.
CBA.
Oh, ZBA liaison, I apologize, and it's not in here?
No, but you have to have.
Right, but we should add that as well.
Yeah, I guess we really should amend that with that in here because it's not, I apologize, I glossed over that. ZBA liaison. You've been ZBA liaison in the past.
So I have
Has anybody else been ZBA liaison? What are the duties? What does it entail? Just for general
attend
knowledge.
the ZBA meetings and then report back.
It's
at the
just, it's
planning
basically just a reporting position.
Well, you're a voting member of the
Yeah, you're a
ZBA.
member.
Oh, so you're also a voting
Yeah.
member, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay.
ZBA is not very busy.
We had one meeting this year.
Last year.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
True
Okay.
that.
Any nominations? Anybody, any thoughts?
Interested?
Anybody interested?
I'll do it again.
Nominate Tom Shane for ZBA liaison.
I will second that.
I accept.
Experience, so you done.
One meeting. That was the meeting, right? It was a good one, though.
So you're a pro. Okay. Any other nominations? Again, any others? No? Any other nominations? No? Okay. Can we have a roll call vote, please, on the nomination of Thomas Shane by, was it Nick? Nick. By Nick and seconded by, who seconded it? I didn't.
All right, you did.
I did.
You do.
It's been a long day already.
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yeah.
Dennis,
Yes.
Tom, and
Yes.
Leo.
Yes.
Normally I'm writing those things down as I go along. I forgot this time. The motion carries to nominate Thomas Shane to the ZBA liaison for the term 2026. Thank you. All right, now moving on to the Secretary Kraus 2025 annual report.
So you all should have gotten it in your email. I don't know if it is in the packet or no.
No, it's an email.
Today, I would have been there.
It came last week. but
No,
it's
it
not
was
in
last
there.
week, but yeah. Annual report, was there a revision two? I only see revision one.
Well, it was in that same email thread.
Yeah.
I only,
Revision
Couple
one.
changes.
I only see revision, the latest one I have is revision one.
Revision one is the only revision I made.
Oh, yeah, there was.
Nick's
original
comments was
revision.
the only,
Sorry.
Okay.
yep, comments that I made. It was you asked for it on that, what, Thursday?
12/17? No.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that, it
No,
wasn't
that's
that
not it.
early. It's right here, January 8th is what I have.
I lost it.
You want to read it off my tablet?
Do I want to read it off your tablet? Probably not. You want to read it off your tablet?
I was going to follow along, but if you don't have
Well,
it.
just a second, it should be here. Here it is. You want me to read it?
Well,
I got it.
okay.
You did a good job of streamlining, let me tell you.
I would say probably just gloss over the highlights. I think everybody's had a chance to read it.
Has everybody had a chance to read it? Okay. So I covered the membership with the addition of myself, Tom, and Leo, and our new recording secretary, Michelle, with a highlight of our planner and engineer, election of officers for last year, meetings. We had 10 of them, one for inclement weather and one for lack of agenda items. Attendance we covered, public hearings. We had 3, January, August, and December, site plans, April, June, July, August, September, and then the ordinance bylaws, solar, battery, wind, kind of summarize what we did there, and then the zoning ordinance update. And the bylaws that we talked about for several meetings before we finally adopted them with typos.
Guaranteed.
So do I need to elaborate any more than that?
I think that covers it.
Okay.
So, thank you, Bonnie. That is a large undertaking, and you handled it with professionalism. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
was overwhelmed by that big pack of paper that came my way last year, so I thought there's gotta be something to simplify it.
Oh, that's good.
So I think we have to approve this and send this to the township board, is that
You
what
don't
happened?
approve it, you receive it.
Well, they,
I think the bylaws said that,
Well, I can look at the bylaws again. I don't, secretary, coordinator.
for approval, I thought it said for approval.
Order voting.
It goes to the township board, but
Annual report.
you acknowledge it and then send it to the board.
What's the bylaw say?
Right here, the planning commission secretary shall at the end of each calendar year prepare for approval of the planning commission. So it has to be approved and submittal. So that's just a simple up or down. Submittal to the township board trustees a written report of the activities covering the previous calendar year. Record of attendance, all excused, unexcused absences. In the event of any member of the commission requires 2 consecutive, that's all separate. Okay.
No,
So-
it was included in the report.
No, I know it was, but I'm talking about the actual mechanism underneath it. I don't need to repeat all that. So basically, just a simple up or down. All in favor of?
I'll make a motion to approve the annual report provided by Bonnie and
Support.
sent to the township board.
Support.
We have a motion by Nick and support by Tracy to accept the yearly report by Secretary Kraus for the year 2025 on the table. Any other further discussion? Anything? We'll just do it a standard up or down vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any nays? No
Okay,
nays?
township board did receive it the same time you did.
Okay.
So it's been sent.
Okay, so
So now it's in the record.
now it's
that
in the
we
record
approved.
that it's been approved.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right, thank you. Planner.
hello.
That would be you.
That is me. So as many of you may or may not be aware, the township board did approve the audit portion of the zoning ordinance update. So I was requested to provide a separate proposal that just did the audit. So I'm anticipating doing that audit. My tentative timeline would be as the audit would be completed sometime in March, is my anticipation. And then I will provide that report to the township, and then the township board will then decide if we're going to do the full zoning ordinance up that day, or they're going to do some other option B. I don't know. But that is where we currently stand. And so one of the specific components the township board wanted to know about is price changes, because I did take that original audit portion from that proposal and pull it out to be separate. Is that in July is when my company does rate adjustments. And so I said, that's when my price may be required to be revised. I anticipate in March that report would be provided. Hopefully we would come to a general consensus in April or May, and then don't have to worry about a rate adjustment. That's the tentative plan anyway. And so as part of that audit preparation, it does not include any meetings, because I didn't know necessarily what the process looked like, but I would anticipate you would also receive a copy of that audit, but we can recheck in at that point in time to say, do they want the planning commission to look at that audit, provide a recommendation, and then the township board make a decision? I don't know if there's any questions about that meeting or any other scope components, but that is what I have envisioned.
I guess I would propose that the planning commission review the audit prior to board.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
We would make a recommendation.
Yeah.
Which we already have once, so we'll do it again.
Well, but this isn't like any other journey. You got to pick out where you are on the map today to figure out where you're going. And it only makes sense to have a professional audit based on the findings that we found, and just in the confusing language that you guys found in your own ordinance, right, that you spent a year just on one subsection,
Right.
or darn near a year, maybe not a full year, 8, 9 months. It only makes sense. We've got a hodgepodge of 28, what was it, 28 years of edits and personalities and changes in direction a multitude of times. So I see it's only fitting today. Anything else to add?
Nope, not unless you had any other questions, but I anticipate that audit would be completed sometime in March. And then hopefully we'd be able to make a decision on that recommendation in March, just so there's additional time for the township board then to deliberate, and then pick a path.
Thank you, Caitlin. It's nice having you back, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. The engineer monthly report. Corey sent that out on the, what date is that? 7th. Has everybody had a chance to review it?
Yeah, I had some questions on it, if I could just find the stupid thing.
There's quite a few open issues on it that are not of his doing. And I don't know how some of these need to get off bottom dead center.
Jeez. So I get to organize everything before I come up. There was one on the Blake's property that said that they couldn't finalize it out because now they're building. Isn't that after the,
We approved that little
No, that's
building extension.
Is that the group house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
That was approved June, and they made application and should get the permit by now.
it was Pinecrest Phase 2, 3, and 4. This project remains open because the owner is building the home pads and residential houses are being constructed. So why would you leave that open while you're, I mean, typically you finalize out your underground and then they get to pull their buildings.
I think because of restoration.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, and he does engineering inspections on every one.
Ah, okay, thank you. And then the Jimmy's storage, screening trees are still required to be installed along the north property line. That's what he came in and talked to us about, right? So is this a C of O stopper?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Vintech building addition,
that's dead. I don't know why that's still on. That was closed out. They pulled back on that. Yeah. That and Ikobachi. Ikobachi is didn't he termed out, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's a close, that's just, from an administrative standpoint, that project's done.
so those two are done, okay. Thank you.
The Vintech building, I don't have the exact date or communications from them, but they deemed that project unnecessary. And
We had an addition prior to that, we're still got the site plan open because of the fire.
that's the addition on the east side of the building. The west side of the building is dead.
And Legacy, they're down to just their dumpster enclosure.
Probably waiting for better weather.
That was in inquiry about that.
What does Novak have to do with that?
Because they're putting
Oh, they're the contractor to build it. Okay.
And how long's Country Smokehouse been on this list?
2019.
That's,
Since the last time I was on the planning commission?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. It ain't going anywhere, I don't think either.
I believe that's is that now become a regulatory issue with the ordinance enforcer, or is it still?
Well, he hasn't put in his detention pond, so it's an open site.
It's a site plan. And an as-built. Yeah, that's all. That's all.
So, but what type of, not that it's our problem, but what type of stick and carrot does the township have to get him to finish that?
I discussed this with our supervisor, and we just, keep at it, you know?
That sounds like that. Okay,
We have another violation there, so I think
Yeah.
they're gonna loop some things together.
okay.
Carrot, no stick.
All right. Well, I mean, there's a stick and a carrot, so you gotta apply which one's appropriate. I don't know what those are. I'm not involved in that type of stuff. I was just curious if there's any path that the township can follow to rectify
So
that.
I think, I talked to Corey today about it, and I can ask him. Right now, the weather isn't conducive to doing anything, but.
Oh, of course.
When spring comes, he can start, you know, making inspections on things.
Okay. Oh, well, that's a perfect time to segue into the zoning board of appeals, Bonnie Kraus, which is probably
Nothing to
zero,
report. Yes.
which would get us then into the zoning and building report.
Okay, we talked about having Sherlock come in, the owner of Sherlock come in, so you still want him in February? Okay.
It's a requirement.
Well, I know, but it's just, you have, the Blakes coming back, maybe, in February, and then you have this, so you know.
Sherlock should be-
Yeah, but that should be.
Sherlock should be
A
5 minutes.
3-minute
Okay.
presentation. I mean, that's,
Make
yeah,
sure
that's,
I don't over-
no, I don't, Nick's point is taken. That's not,
Okay, so
that-
we
that's
have,
Yeah, someone told me,
Sherlock,
but
yeah, it's mere formality. Yeah.
possibly Blakes, depending on how that meeting goes. And then you're going to continue review of solar.
But, yeah, continue from where we left off today.
did we want to put we talked about in that email a little bit about the 2-week notice, changing that for the election?
Oh, you want to make your text amendments to
Or do
your policy?
Let's move that along to the next
we- I
meeting.
just don't want to forget. So maybe we can
Could-
poke it onto March for now.
Can you do a
I'll
tentative,
make a note to put it on March.
tentative note, add it to the March agenda?
As long as we do it before.
And then yeah,
But I'll remember next year.
We're going to fix it for you.
there's a couple typos. I don't know if.
Yep, I got
Do all that all at the same time. Okay.
Is there anything about adding the ZBA liaison in the bylaws? Does that belong in there?
For the election, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because it's an officer, it should be noted in there in some fashion.
It's, yeah.
Oh,
Yes, I do. I'm so excited.
You want to withdraw your nomination?
Try again next year.
So I got ZBA, election, and the typos, right? For March. Well, it'll be, when did you say you're coming back with the,
March or April is my tentative timeline.
Okay.
Audit, I'll keep you posted if something happens in March where the audit won't be ready. But I think tentatively speaking that works, but most definitely by April. Keeping in with the original scope proposal timeline.
I don't know why everybody didn't stick around. This is so riveting. Thank you, Ida. Your institutional knowledge and background is fully appreciated.
You may want to just consider, instead of approving, you're receiving the annual one. So if there's any unforeseen mistakes in it, you're not accepting mistakes, you're just receiving.
Does that change in March?
I mean, that's what I was taught, is that you always receive reports. But, you know.
Well, the township board receives reports, these guys.
We,
They will acknowledge it, you receive it. And you pass it on. That's up to you. I mean, I'm just saying that my training is that you receive.
Okay,
So then
Is
what
it-
was the
I guess-
motion for?
I'll propose some language.
So we have a motion to approve that, though.
Today,
today,
Yeah.
But they're current is, I just
Going
said,
forward, it
while
might
they're going
change.
through
We're talking about changing the bylaws.
Consider it.
there might be an amendment to the bylaws that clarify how we address that.
You can go to MTA and see if it's approved or received or whatever.
Okay. Thank you, Ida. We will take those comments under consideration. Any general comments from anyone? Everybody have a good year so far? Beginning of the new year, everything going good?
We're all here.
Yeah.
Yay.
Looking out the window, it looks like it's even worse than when we got here.
Motion to adjourn.
Still support.
So we have a motion to adjourn from Bonnie and
Support.
support by Tracy. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 9:33 even.
Well done, everyone. Nice.
Thank you all for braving the poor roads and cold.
So Bonnie,